You think the calmest person in the room is the one who doesn't care. You're wrong. They care more than anyone. They've just mastered the one psychological trick that turns every crisis into a non-event. This isn't about suppressing your emotions. It's about controlling the battlefield before the war even starts. You're about to learn the deep psychological mechanics of true, unshakable calm. The people we're talking about aren't just easygoing. They exhibit a distinct psychological trait known as high emotional regulation, specifically a mastery of cognitive reappraisal. They aren't emotionless robots, they are emotional strategists. Key observable markers of true calmness. The calculated pause. When faced with bad news or a personal attack, they never react instantly. There is a deliberate 2 to 3 second pause. This pause is their window of power. The absence of volume. They rarely raise their voice, because they understand that volume is a poor substitute for validity. They speak slowly and deliberately, forcing others to meet their pace. Thriving in chaos, the eye of the storm while everyone else runs around panicked, the calm person becomes the immediate locus of stability. In a crisis, they unconsciously shift from feeling to fact-finding. They don't personalize conflict. When criticized, they view the criticism as data or a problem to be solved, not a personal indictment. Their self-worth is not tied to the immediate situation. Why do these individuals possess this superpower? It boils down to 3 core psychological anchors they rely on. 1. They have a high internal locus of control. Most people in a crisis focus on the external, the traffic, the boss, the market crash. They blame things they cannot control. Truly calm people operate with a dominant internal locus of control. They mentally filter the situation into 2 categories. Controllable, their next breath, their response, their attitude, their actions. This is where they invest 100% of their energy. Uncontrollable, everything else. They treat this as background noise. They conserve massive amounts of psychological energy by refusing to worry about what is outside their sphere of influence. 2. Mastery of the stimulus-response gap. This is the central engine of their calmness. As Viktor Frankl noted, between stimulus and response there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. The non-calm person's reaction is stimulus. Emotion. Response. This is automatic, reactive, and often regrettable. The calm person has learned to insert cognitive reappraisal into that space. Stimulus, reappraise, how can I view this differently? Chosen emotion. Intentional response. They don't let the first emotional spike define the situation. They immediately reframe it. A disaster becomes a challenge, and an insult becomes a projection. 3. They practice emotional exposure therapy. Often, the calmest individuals have a past history of severe stress, failure, or trauma. They have been exposed to the worst-case scenario and survived it. This isn't a flaw, it's a feature. They have developed a deep, embodied belief that nothing that happens today will fundamentally break them. This psychological foundation allows them to view current stress as minor turbulence, not a catastrophic emergency. Calmness is not a personality trait you are born with, it is a muscle that is built through repetition. To begin mastering your own emotional stability, you must intentionally practice creating that space between stimulus and response. The 3-second rule: the next time you feel that spike of anger, fear, or panic, before you speak, text, or act, force yourself to take 3 full, slow breaths. This is a physiological hard reset that gives your frontal cortex time to catch up to your amygdala. Externalize the problem. When a stressful event occurs, talk about it in the third person or as an external entity. Instead of saying, I have ruined the project, say, the project needs a new direction. Separating you from the problem immediately lowers the emotional intensity. Pre-accept the worst. Practice premeditatio malorum, premeditation of evils. If you are worried about a presentation, an exam, or a meeting, mentally play out the worst possible outcome. Accept it. Once your mind knows it can survive the worst, the fear loses its grip, and the need for panic fades. True composure is the quiet power of knowing that your peace is entirely up to you.